it's working, but just in case. Okay. All right. So once again, if I could have you guys mute, I will mute you if you're not already muted. At the end of the masterclass, we are going to, hi Danielle, thank you for coming. At the end of the masterclass, we are going to have time for some questions, and we're going to do a live Q&A, and I'll ask you to share your stories if you like. And then once we finish up, you can feel free to leave, and then I will be talking about my 5-week program. So I am Coach Lacy, as I said before, and thank you for trusting me to be your guide in making tangible lifestyle changes. Even if we only ever work together for this 1-hour session, I want to show you what is possible when you choose your future self and make a shift towards better habits through wellness. I'd like to start by sharing a bit of my own journey, which I believe will resonate with some of you. You might not believe me unless you know me and have heard my story, which some of you have. But there was a time when I was overweight, dependent on fast food, cigarettes, and drugs like marijuana. At my heaviest, I weighed 188 pounds. So I grew up in Wyoming in a loving Christian family. My mom had me at the young age of 19, and my parents divorced when I was just a baby. I grew up with my mom, who was always interested in health and wellness and self-development. This was foundational for me later on in life because it made it easier for me to circle back once I was led astray. I was a sweet child who was fairly sheltered, but I did endure some unspeakable things that many young girls do, unbeknownst to my parents. And I never really talked about any of it until I started going to therapy as an adult. And I don't like to talk about these things, so this will be the last time I mention it. But for the purpose of this class and conveying the importance of the release of trauma, I want the women to attend my courses to know that I deeply understand. And I am a safe place, and you can always talk to me. When I was 10 years old, my grandmother, who is a very important person in my life, went to prison for fraud and drug use. I had no idea my grandmother was a drug addict until she was locked up. And even as a young child, I didn't really understand what that meant until years later. So this summer that she went to prison, my mother also got married, and I went to go stay with my dad in Washington for the first time in my life, with his new family, with my half brother and sister. And that was a difficult summer for me, and it was kind of like the coming of age, right? That was when I started becoming aware of myself. And so I was fairly a pretty good child up until about the age of 15, when I was pretty easily influenced by people, and I was introduced to drugs, particularly methamphetamine, by a group of kids at my school. And growing up in a small town in rural Wyoming in the 90s, our parents really didn't have any idea that this drug was even around, let alone that it was so prevalent in school, right? It was kind of a new thing. So this began a descent into darkness for me, and I began using drugs regularly, and I dove headfirst into Satanism, much to my family's dismay. And my mom tried everything to clean me up. And I was pretty headstrong and defiant, so I didn't listen for a long time. So for years, this was my lifestyle and my reality, and I was just really off course. And when I was 17 years old, my parents checked me into the Wyoming Behavioral Institute to try and get me some help. So I turned 18 in there, which was kind of a drug rehab, but also behavioral institute. And I was a senior in high school, and I decided to check myself out to go live with my grandma, who had gotten out of prison my sophomore year. And once I was out of WBI, I immediately started using again. And of course, I met a boy and moved into the apartment across the hall from my grandma. So by that fall, after I had graduated, I found myself sitting inside a jail cell, having had my house raided by DEA agents for having 20 pounds of marijuana and multiple bags of methamphetamine, and just for being a general drug dealer. I was on probation for about a year. My boyfriend and I decided to get married in the summer. And I do remember that my parents were not for it, but I once again was very headstrong and wanted what I wanted, and I thought I was an adult and all that good stuff. Now having my own teenager, I realized how young that actually was. But I got off probation and I went back to all my bad habits. And by this time, I'd gained quite a bit of weight, and I found myself weighing in at 188 pounds, which was my heaviest. I thought that drugs would be the cure, and I thought that methamphetamine would get me skinny again. But instead, I found myself depressed, sick, and just really tired of my lifestyle. And my dad still lived in Washington, and he came to visit for my wedding. He kind of threw me a bone, a chance at a new life. So on August 13th, 2006, the very day after my first wedding, I left everything that I'd ever known behind to take a chance on something new. And I never looked back. I haven't used meth since I left that day. It was the last day I ever used hard drugs. So fast forward to 2008, and I was eating fast food every day and gas station food and drinking on the weekends, smoking Marlboro Reds, smoking weed morning, noon, and night. Still in my bad habits. I wasn't doing hard drugs, but I was still very unhealthy. And this is a picture of me that year, and probably I think that was 2007, my dad's house in the pool. I was on the phone with my mom, and I was working at Arby's, and I was going through the community college flyer, and I saw something about becoming a medical lab tech. And I decided to give it a try, and I enrolled in college. And during that time, I found a work study job at a family practice naturopathic clinic. I had no idea what the word naturopathic even meant. I actually thought the doctors prescribed marijuana, so I was all in. I almost didn't get the job because I showed up with a face full of piercings, a frumpy outfit, and no medical knowledge whatsoever. I worked quickly and proficiently, so they decided to take a chance on me. And I'm so thankful that they did, because I would not be where I'm sitting today. I worked at this clinic for 8 years, working my way up to office manager. And during that time, I got divorced from my ex. I lost 35 pounds. I stopped smoking cigarettes, and I became a certified medical assistant and certified nursing assistant. I was really hungry for more. I wanted to learn. I loved naturopathic medicine. I loved the concepts of herbs and aromatherapy and nutrition. So I enrolled in the Integrative Institute for Nutrition out of New York online. And I went on to get my health coaching certification. And finally, after that, I was still hungry. So I enrolled in the American College of Healthcare Sciences, and I got my undergraduate in complementary and alternative medicine with my certification in nutrition, herbalism, and aromatherapy. But my health journey didn't stop there. I experienced my first big loss of grief, and my first big real grief in 2011, when my aunt died suddenly from something very tragic and unexpected. And this affected me deeply. But that would not be the last time that I experienced such a deep tragedy. My life took a really unexpected turn in 2017, when my brother, who was a year out of beating stage 4 cancer, muscle cancer, rhabdomyosarcoma, he took his own life. And a lot of you know that story, so I don't need to tell it here, but it was pretty tragic. And his twin brother found him passed away in his room. And so that was a pretty big blow to me. I was 15 when these boys were born. And from the age of 20 until, they were in their teens, I was one of their caregivers. So this really affected me, and it sent me into a mental health crisis, which caused me to leave that clinic that I was working at for 8 years and managing. But I landed on my feet working for a few other naturopathic physicians, Dr. Allegra, Dr. Bridges, and a couple others. And Dr. Allegra showed me the ropes of working in the online space. So in 2018, I got married to my husband, Jesse, who's my best friend and my cheerleader to this day. If not for him, I'm not sure I would have made it through the grief that I've endured. He's been really instrumental in just being a rock for me. But 2019, the grief doesn't end here, right? 2019 was a really difficult year for me. I flipped my Jeep and I almost lost my own life. And in the following month, my uncle died unexpectedly and tragically, very similar to his wife years prior. That really rocked my whole family's world. Then in May, we witnessed the loss and trauma of my friend's 18-month-old child in another very tragic and unexpected manner. And then that summer, my father's brother, who was the only family member I had left in this town, passed away unexpectedly. 2020 was another difficult year for everyone on so many levels, but for me, I endured some trauma that I can speak to on another day. And if you know me, you probably know this story. 2021, I found my dog Shadow dead on my living room floor 1 hour before his veterinary appointment. That would have saved his life. That really affected me in a deep, deep manner. I blamed myself a lot. And this last November, my beloved grandma, my Grammy, died. She died suddenly, and I had not seen her in a year. So that affected me deeply and still does to this day, as do they all. So these experiences, while they were difficult, these experiences of loss and grief and addiction and trauma, while they were difficult, they helped to shape me into the person that I am today. And coupled with my education and my work experience, it's really given me a different view of how to deal with these sort of things and what mental health and wellness and really how it all encompasses in the healing process. So through the education I've received and the changes I've implemented, I've transformed my own life. I shed my weight. I freed myself from substances that once controlled me. Now at almost 40, I am in the best shape of my life, both mentally and physically. I'm finally sober, completely sober. And I'm just really happy, and I'm working towards living my dreams. You know, granted, it's taken me a while to get here, but I'm finally here. So how did I do that? How did I make that happen? Well, I'm about to share with you some of the tools, an essential tool that I use to this day to keep myself happy, healthy, and moving forward. So how many of you guys have heard of the circle of life? You can just raise your hand. If you've worked with me, I'm always hammering on this one. So this is a primary tool. Oh, got somebody in the waiting room here. 1 second. This is a primary tool that I use in my coaching. So the circle of life is something I use quarterly with myself to help check in, and I see where I'm at and what I need to work on. This circle represents primary foods. So when implementing the concept of primary foods, nutrition is a secondary source of energy. Primary foods are non-food sources of nourishment. These are what really fuel us. When we were children, we all lived on primary food. Lovers play is like primary food. When you're playing and you're in community, that is a primary food. Lovers thrive on the pure bliss and the peace that they're experiencing, while passionate entrepreneurs are fueled by their work. The excitement and rapture of daily life can feed us more completely than any food. So that's kind of like why we overeat. If you've ever had a time where you've been like deeply in love, everything in the beginning is really light and warm, and its colors are vivid, and life is just full of joy, and you feel spunky, and you're kind of high off that love, you know, and you're kind of high of the presence of that other person. And you're sustained and exhilarated by blissful connection. And it's almost like you float on air, and food itself becomes secondary. These earbuds are just falling out. Sorry, guys. I keep touching my ears. It's because my earbuds keep falling out. Or you can think back to a time where you were involved in an exciting work project. You got really deeply engrossed in it. You believed that what you were doing wholeheartedly. You felt confident and stimulated. Time almost stops, and the outside world gets muted, and food just becomes kind of an afterthought. That also happens when you're exercising and you're really in the zone. That's called a flow state, when you are kind of in the zone. That's a flow state. So if you can think to a time where you're actually really depressed or you're experiencing a low point in your life, you were starving for primary food. You shut everything out. You don't have community. You're not working on yourself. You're not doing the things that you love. No matter how much you eat, you just never feel satisfied, right? Like you never fills that hole. So the need of love or power or acknowledgement just drove the desire for excess food. And that's where people really get in trouble, is that desire for the excess food. So primary foods, as highlighted in this circle, they highlight the different aspects of your life. That's relationships, career, physical activity, creativity, home environment, home cooking. Primary food goes beyond the plate, nurturing us at the deepest levels. So the more primary food that we give ourselves, the less that we depend on that secondary food. So on the contrary, the more we fill ourselves with secondary food, the less space that we're leaving for primary foods, which are our true source of nourishment. So many cultures and religions practice fasting to reduce secondary food, which opens channels to receive a greater amount of primary food and these lifestyle changes. This is what I use to base lifestyle changes on. So during my transformation, I realized that no amount of healthy eating would ever compensate for the neglect in these other areas of my life. So by nurturing my primary foods, I found balance and true well-being. So the way that this circle works is there's a tool online, and I'll drop it in the chat here and I'll put it in the group. And you can print it out. You can print this out. I have a handout. If you'd like that, you can message me and I'll send it to you. Your level of satisfaction, you're going to put a dot, like it's going to be like connect the dots. You're going to put a dot in the area that you're most satisfied and least satisfied. So in the middle here, you're least satisfied. On the outside, you're most satisfied. So you would put a little dot in finances. If you're feeling financially secure, you're going to put it on the outside. In your career, if you're not feeling very happy with your career, you're going to put it on the inside. And then education, put it on the outside. Wherever you're at on this scale, you're going to put it greatest satisfaction on the outside, least satisfaction on the inside. And then it will show you a pie of where you're at and the areas of your life that you really need to work on. So in my coaching, what I do, the very first thing that we do is we go through your circle of life and we see what areas and what primary foods you need to work on. And then we create SMART goals based upon those, based upon the results of your circle of life. And your circle will change throughout your life. And sometimes it will be completely full. Other times you're going to have multiple things that you're going to need to work on. And so in my coaching, what I really like to do is use this every few months to get a check-in and see where you're at. And then we take your goal list and we have 1 month, 3 month, and a 6 month, and then a 1 year goal. And we have 3 goals for each of those segments that we work on based upon your circle of life. And so then that becomes the primary focus of what we're working on. And then we, of course, do work on diet and talk about food allergies and that sort of thing. But if your primary foods are not fulfilled and you are not getting what you need in that aspect, you're going to just keep filling yourself up with those secondary foods. And no amount of exercise, no amount of calorie counting, no amount of anything is going, no amount of food or any sort of nourishment is going to fill you up like filling these primary foods will. So that is what I want you to take away today if you never work with me ever again, is I want you to work on your primary foods in your circle of life. So I invite you guys to think about your own circle of life. What areas are you thriving? Which ones need more attention? So this reflection is the first step towards holistic wellness. So in my journey of healing from grief, trauma, and addiction, I recognized that I was not doing very well in some of these areas, and I had been eating all the right foods. I had been exercising. I had been doing all the things that my naturopath had told me to do, but I was still holding on to some of this weight. and they couldn't lose this weight. And it was like, why am I not able to lose this weight? So I went back to my circle of life, and I realized one thing that was really lacking for me was community. And so community and creativity. And so I dove headfirst into creating community around me and being really intentional about, making new friends, showing up for myself, being intentional with my word. And when I would say that I was going to do something, I would do it, because for a long time, I was one of those people that would be like, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. And I never actually followed through. And that was reflected in my circle of life, in my social life, because I was really lacking in that. And while I'm a very friendly person and have a lot of people that I converse with, I wouldn't show up, and I wouldn't show up for myself. So I really want you guys to ask yourself, how do I want to show up in the world? How do I want other people to perceive me? Do I want to be perceived as this person who isn't true to my word? Do I want to be perceived as this person who's really self-involved? And I realized that I was being really self-involved. And so one of the changes that I made was I quit smoking marijuana. And I was smoking marijuana a lot, and I kept hiding it, and I kept lying to myself. I kept lying to others. Well, we need to realize that whenever we make excuses are just a lie. They're just a lie that we tell ourselves and we tell other people. So anytime you make an excuse, you have to recognize that you're just lying to yourself and you're lying to others. And if you want to show up in an authentic manner, and you want to show up as someone that can hold space for others and help the collective rise, we need to be real and stop giving excuses. Now, if you genuinely forget something, okay, but there's only so many times that you can forget or whatever. And we only have so much life to live. So why on earth are we making excuses for ourselves? Doesn't make sense, right? Oh, I will exercise tomorrow. Well, once you recognize that exercise is a pivotal part of your primary foods, and not only just for weight loss, don't exercise to lose weight. That's not why you're exercising. You're exercising so that you can be strong throughout your lifetime, so that you can go into your later years and still be able to do the things that you love to do. There's this lie in our society that we have to stop living at like 65. That's not true. That's not true. I know 80-year-olds that are still hiking out here in Washington, because you know what? They were lifting weights, they were still hiking, they were doing the things. We can move and be fruitful into our older years if you just keep doing the thing. And it's a lifelong thing, and it's repetitive, and it's tedious, but those of us who actually do the work are what set us apart from the people that aren't. And we set the example for those who are unwilling to be truthful with themselves and say, hey, I need to make a change. And it's never too late. It's never, ever too late to make a change. So I encourage you, if you have been making excuses for yourself or you haven't been showing up, I encourage you to recognize that these excuses are just lies we tell ourselves in order to just be lazy or just to relax. We can relax when we're dead. Like life is now. Life is now, and it's very short. And having lost people around me left and right, I realized that. I realized that the people that I loved were not here, and one day it's going to be me. Someday someone's going to be grieving my loss. And what do I want to leave for them? I don't want to leave this, oh, well, she could have been great. Oh, well, she could have been this way. No, I want to leave a legacy that has a ripple effect through generations. And that's what this is all about. This is why I quit my job, because I wanted to leave a greater legacy than what I was leaving working for someone else. And so if that's you and you're afraid, my mom always said, do it afraid. A lot of this stuff, you're going to hear me say a lot of these little things that my mom has told me. And Mom, you're here, and I want to thank you for always being one of my best cheerleaders and showing up for me, because without you, I couldn't have been this person that I am today. Sorry, I get emotional, but it's true. So we have to focus on enriching these aspects of our lives, not only to enhance our ability to recover from adversity, but to pave the way for more fulfilled and balanced existence. We want to heal, and we want to grow, and we want to encourage others to heal and grow and to flourish. We can only flourish when we are working on these things within ourselves. So I know that some of you came here today for weight loss, but that wasn't really the the point of today's class. Weight loss is a side effect of releasing what's not serving you. So when you consider weight loss, it's crucial to look beyond the scale and calorie counting. The concept of primary foods is a way that you can track your metrics and track your progress. It's a way that we can focus on what needs to change. It teaches us that our relationships, career satisfaction, spirituality, physical activity, whatever that means for you, as long as you're doing it, as long as you're showing up for yourself, these elements, they nourish us on a deeper level and they're integral to our health. So balancing these primary foods is key to sustainable weight loss or just life changes and transformation. Because when we feel fulfilled and balanced in these areas, we are less likely to turn to food for comfort, for stress relief, or emotional fulfillment. It's the same goes for substances. If you rely on that glass of wine every night, if you're sucking on a vape pen, if you're using pills, you're doing that because there's areas in your life here that are not fulfilled. And you have to take a look at that. You have to take a look at that because if you don't take a look at what primary foods are being neglected, you're never going to be able to make the changes that are necessary to move forward. So if you want a harmonious life where primary foods are in balance, it naturally leads to those healthier choices, reducing emotional eating, having a more active lifestyle. This is a holistic approach that not only supports weight loss, but it also promotes a profound sense of well-being and vitality, making the journey towards losing weight, releasing addiction, getting over grief, a more an enriching, sustainable experience. We can't take everything on at once, right? If you're suffering through compounded grief, I get it. I was there. After my brother died, I became addicted to gabapentin because I not only was I smoking weed, but I had flipped my Jeep. I had gone to have a massage from a dear friend of mine who accidentally injured me, and to this day I don't have feeling in my left foot because of the injury I sustained. And I was feeling sorry for myself. And I was sitting, doing these pills, doing the weed, drinking wine, all the things, because I didn't want to work on the things that were necessary in order for me to make these changes. And when I finally made that connection, and I'd been using this tool for my clients for years, but I wasn't showing up in the way that I needed to make that change. And so you can know all these things. I can tell you this from the rooftops, but until you actually do the work and you show up for yourself and you recognize that all excuses are lies, all excuses are lies. If you have an excuse, you're lying to yourself. I'm the queen of excuses. I used to give excuses all the time. If you need a good something good to listen to, you can hop over on Spotify or YouTube and listen to Jocko, and there's a Jocko Willick. It's a song that I like to listen to, and it's by oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting his name. I'll drop it in the chat and in the group. I'll drop it at all these links in the group. But it's a really good song and it's called All Excuses Are Lies. And it's this mantra that I listen to all the time. Jordan Peterson is another really good guy to listen to on YouTube. If you don't know where to start with all this stuff, start with self-development. Start with listening to inspirational, motivational content every day. That's how I got started with getting out of my hole. Is I was so sad and so heartbroken by my brother killing himself that I had listened to Les Brown all day long. All day long, I would have one of my little earbuds in, listening to motivational content that was just building me up and rewriting the script that was in my head. You have to rewrite the script. If you can't rewrite the script, you're never going to change your life. And so it's important to recognize when you're lying to yourself and you're lying to others through excuses, because excuses are just hurting you. They're just hurting you. And if you truly just don't have time, then we need to talk about time management. Time management is essential in making big changes, There's a really great book called Atomic Habits. I encourage all of my clients to read that book. It teaches the art of habit stacking. Habit stacking is where you take a habit that you already have, like brushing your teeth, and then you take a habit you would like to have, like reading a book. I brush my teeth and then I read a book, and then I, go to bed, or I brush my teeth and I go to the gym. The habit stacking allows the habit that's already ingrained to trigger the new habit that you're trying to implement. And once you've done this for about 27 days, that's the amount of time that it takes to implement new habits. That's a really great book. There's a good website that he has, James Clear. You can subscribe to his updates. He's got some really good stuff. There are so many tools out there, and you can buy all of the tools and all of the programs and all of the things, but unless you're actually ready to do the work and show up for yourself and quit lying to yourself with these excuses, nothing's ever going to happen. You're going to be like me, sitting there sucking on your vape pen, wishing that you could lose that extra 10 pounds. I'll tell you what, the second that I stopped lying to myself and the second that I recognized that excuses were lies, I made a big shift, and I could not ignore myself any longer. And that was gave me the ability to focus on these primary foods, and that gave me the strength and the courage to step out on my own. I loved my job with Dr. Tara. I loved it, you guys. Those of you who came from there, you know how much I love that clinic. You know how beautiful it was. But my growth was being stifled because I was living in the shadow of someone else. And I had to recognize that, and I had to be real with myself that it was my time to take my life and put it into my, um, put effort into what I'm doing. So I really encourage you guys to listen. Oh, it's Akira the Dawn. So Akira the Don. He's on Spotify. He's on YouTube. Jocko Willink. Excuses or lies. If you type in excuses or lies into YouTube, it will pop right up. It is such a good mantra to have. So if you take anything away from me today, I want you to take that all excuses are lies. And every time you have an excuse for something, just recognize you're lying to yourself and you're lying to others. And when we do that, we cannot create a ripple effect that affects the generations, because our world is really going through it. We all know that we're having some issues here in this world. And the only way things are going to change is if we can change at a ground level. We really have to be able to change on a ground level to create sustainable ripple effect that goes throughout the generations, right? Like, because we all see it. We all see it. I don't have to tell you. You guys know where I stand. So this holistic approach, it helps us to heal from trauma and heal from grief. And it's crucial to our wellness to be able to take a look at ourselves objectively and say, how do I want to show up in the world? Those are the things that I really want to have you take home. How do I want to show up in the world? What generational ripple effect do I want to leave? That's something my mom taught me, that it is now ingrained in my body. What generational ripple effect do I want to leave? Well, I want to leave one of triumph. I want to leave one of courage. I want to leave one of wellness. I want to teach the world to be well. I could build landing pages all day for people, and that might make me tons of money. But you know what? That is not going to change the world. What's going to change the world is this stuff. So I want you guys to show up for yourself, show up for the world, show up for your community. And even if you just start with one person, Kelly, you brought your mom. Thank you. Thank you for bringing another person with you, because that one person is going to go tell another person, and they're going to tell another person. Even if you never ever work with me again and you never see me again, this is something that you can share with everyone. So I've learned in my journey that facing our pain, understanding it, and working through it and being real is just the path to true healing. We have to be real with ourselves. So today, I encourage you to embrace your own healing journey, whether it's seeking support, engaging in self-care, or simply acknowledging your experiences and acknowledging what excuses you're making and where the wobble is, where you're lying to yourself. And what you can do to make a change in your life to create a ripple effect that goes through the generations. Every single step towards healing is a step to a freer and more vibrant self, a more vibrant community, a more vibrant family. It's for me, for you, for us. That's what one of my mentors always says. For me, for you, for us. What that means is the more that we work on ourselves, the more that it reflects towards others, and then it goes to the community. It's this bigger picture. We're not just doing this because we want to lose weight. Like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Congratulations about your face. Congratulations about your body. It's about your heart and your soul. And if we can really hammer that message home, that is what's going to change the world. So, that all being said, I would love to hear from you. I want to know what you're struggling with. What areas in this circle of life do you think that you can work on? What is something that you're struggling to work with? What is something that you've always had a challenge with? If you want to share, you can just unmute and go ahead and talk. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so we can get a little bit more intimate. All right. Anybody want to share what you're struggling with in your life, in your wellness journey? It's a safe space, and I like no judgment here. Come on, guys. I know someone has something to share.
Oh, well, gosh, I'll start talking if no one's going to start talking.
Do it. Yeah. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lacy.
Thank you for joining us. I know you popped in
like,
a little late.
Crap. Yeah, I was like, oh, crap, 10:30. Yeah,
okay.
So we're getting ready to leave to go get Bill's Jeep fixed, but I'm getting over a cold, and I normally don't get sick. But yeah, just this time frame of this last year is now catching up to me. With everything going on. So a lot for me, it's not just eating bad, but the hormonal and emotional, and because of Bill going through all his cancer treatment, having all the problems he had last year. So come on, Taz. And so yeah, I know some of what I need to do, and it's just a matter of kicking my butt in gear. And I'm like, darn it, it's way past January. Should have kicked myself in the, you know how you do that every year.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So did you look at the circle of life there, and is there a place that you can work on?
Oh, there's lots of places I can work on. My problem is I'm all or nothing. It's like by the time, like, I'll do the commit and go like I did before when I lost a bunch of weight in 2013. I lost 80 pounds in 6 months, probably too fast. So that's usually what happens. But I don't think I'm going to do that this time. I need to, but I'm also anxious at the same time to kind of, especially then when you go and get sick, then you're like, to yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of to light a fire. And so now it's just a matter of picking the right things that I need to order as far as supplements and getting that all going and getting a routine situated again, getting back into a daily routine and what I need to do, what I need to add, what's important, what's not. And for me, it's just my brain, because I have a lot of knowledge already. I'm just like, oh God, now where do I start now? For myself, someone else asks me this question, I'll be like, oh, let me help you. But for myself, I'm like, and so when you said you did this, more on a holistic approach, I was like, oh, good, somebody that I can listen to and get, kick me in the butt to, in a way, you know what I mean, nicely, to kind of get things going. All right, come on, Taz, get in the car.
So I would encourage you to do the circle of life. I'm going to put the circle of life in the Facebook group for everybody, because sometimes the group chat is a little bit hard for people to navigate here. So I'll put the online version of this, and you guys can all do your circles. If you want to take a screenshot and then post it in the group, and we can work a little bit more on what you can do to make those changes, that would be really cool. Because that is a great starting point for you to be able to recognize what needs to be worked on, because sometimes we just simply don't know. It's one thing to be like, oh, I need to count my calories. Well, there's, like I said, there's more than that. It's about these primary foods. In order to really make a sustainable change, primary foods are going to be what you need to work on in addition to that secondary food. So If there's something that you can think of right away, that's great, and we can work on that. But I really encourage you to take that step. And at the end of this session, I'm going to be talking about the coaching program that I have. I have a 5-week coaching program where we go through the circle of life, and we go through the goal setting, and we go through it really deeply. We'd meet every once a week for an hour, and we're going to do it in a group coaching setting. I know some of you have done group coaching with me before, and you know the style of that. And so what we do is we go around and we share our experiences with other people, and we work through these things together, because it helps to have a community. It helps to have a community of people to be able to hear other people's experiences, other people's stories. And sometimes people have nuggets of wisdom that even I don't have. I don't know everything. I've had a lot of experience, but I'm open to learning. And so for those of you who are wanting to work on this stuff and really make a change, that option is going to be available when we clean up, when we're done today. I'm going to let the people that don't want to hear about it leave. And then those of you who do want to hear about it, you can stay and we'll do a little shop with me, and I'll talk to you about that program. Because I recognize
Yeah, I want to take a more healthier approach this time, where last time it was more focused on weight loss. This time it's going to be more focused on, health and wellness and eating good and whatnot. So, but thank you, Lacy. Appreciate it.
Thank you for showing up. Absolutely. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Like, are you reflecting on your circle? Laura, I see you unmuted. Hi.
Hi, I am a teacher, and I'm sure you guys know after COVID, as teachers are really burnt out. I am 10 years left to get my full retirement. Wink, wink. Not that I'll retire then. Anyways, I struggle. What are your tips for stress eating when things go awry at work? I get shouted out by other teachers. Our behaviors, I'm sure you've heard, our behaviors are out of control. Our rights are taken away on how we can discipline children nowadays. What do you, I mean, I just get so stressed out at work, and then I come home, or even any snack I can find at work, I just shove down the hatch.
Yeah.
What are your tips for being for stress reduction and stress eating? I know the cause.
Mm-hmm.
What are tips you do in the moment, and then what are tips when you, like, when I come home and I'm just so mad about some teacher yelled at me, and I'm like, well, just let you know, you were also 5 minutes late to get your children, whatever. How do you combat that? Are there any tips?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, I want you to take a look at how much protein you're eating, because protein, if you have a diet that's high in protein, and I'm talking like 100 grams of protein to 120 grams, that's quite a bit. So if you don't know where you're at, I would recommend getting my fitness tracker or First Form to track that. You want to increase your protein, because that will reduce your cravings for sugary foods, right? And then for as far as stress relief, I would go take a walk. Like, I would just go take a walk in the moment in the middle of school if you're able to.
I teach PE, so I walk all day, but that's not enough. It's not enough, Lacy. It's not enough. I don't know.
What do you like to do? What do you like? What brings you joy?
Well, I do love my job. Like, when I'm just with the kids, I can handle
outside of work. Outside of work.
Anything with my kids, anything outdoors, snowmobile, ski, dirt bike, quiet, walk, hike, run, cook. I like to do a lot of research on, me, I'm always trying to find recipes that I may or may never try, but I like to look up stuff like that, health stuff.
Yeah, I would just dive into something that you love doing when you get home. Go engage with your kids, go play with your kids, go take them to the park, and forget about all of that stress, because stress, we can't control others, right, Laura? We cannot control others. And when we stress out about what other people are doing, it just brings us down. And so instead of stressing about what someone else is doing, just focus on yourself and focus on the things that you love to do. Listen to some good music. Turn on a motivational, like Les Brown is fabulous. He's a really great entry level motivational speaker. Get a headset like this, probably one better than this because these keep falling out of my ears, but get a headset. like this that you can wear around your neck, put it onto your phone, and then just plug in. I'll send you some motivational speakers that I like to listen to, because that's one thing that I started doing when I was working at Alpine. As you know, it was a stressful job, and it was pretty. There were times where I was tearing my hair out because it was just really high stress. And so what I would do is I would just pop this in. I would listen to some upbeat, happy music, or I'd listen to Les Brown. And Les Brown really, like, he's fabulous. He just talks about getting through adversity, and that positive reinforcement really helps to get rid of that negative reinforcement. And so
Yeah,
if you
and
can
that's the
replace
thing
that.
is
Yeah.
I feel like I am the exercising teacher. I am always happy. I am, because I am
Yeah,
generally happy with my life. And
Mhm.
it's just like teachers who I know the problem. I know that they're not, by their attitude, the way they conduct themselves, their general lifestyle they choose to live. But I'm like, don't affect my lifestyle. But I don't know how to block those people out. Like when they come to me and are barking down my throat, I'm like,
Yeah, I get a
so,
headset. Get a
okay,
headset and then
pop it in.
reinforce your positive reinforcement. That's what
Yeah.
I would do if I were you,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
that way when those people come at you, you can recognize that's just their stuff. I've got my stuff over here, and it just plugs them out like in the moment. And I don't know if
Right.
you can do that at school, but like if you can, just what you don't need to have both of them in, just have one in, so that you
Okay.
could just turn it on really quick. And it's either, whether it's happy music, you know, the Pharrell "Cause I'm Happy" song, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it is that makes you happy, play some happy music, because happy music is going to shift your state. You want to shift your state. When you get into a lower state, there are a few things that can shift your state, and that's music, motivation, and movement. The
Okay.
3 M's.
Okay.
Okay. Does that help?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. That helps a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. How many teachers do we have in here? I know we have a few. Yeah, 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 yeah. Woohoo!
Really
My mom's a
love,
teacher too.
I would really love to speak to what Laura was saying because I resonate with that a lot. Um, so yesterday I actually had an experience where a teacher, he came up and started yelling at me about something that had happened. And one thing that I've really been working on is setting the boundary of not letting them come to me and speak to me that way. And you know, as teachers, we want to make sure that people feel heard and people's opinions are valued and all of that. But to say, you know, it sounds like you're really frustrated. And then I have something that I need to do. Is there something that I can help you with? Or do you just want me to listen? Because I can't fix it. It's not my job to fix it. Really sorry that you're dealing with that. And then the other thing that I've done recently, because I have the same problem of stress eating, and just planning my snacks ahead of time, or planning the thing that I'm going to be able to, like, okay, I'm looking forward to having this thing that's in my lunch, or I'm looking forward to having this thing. And then the staff room, the staff room, you all know the staff room situation, planning those things, you know, it's donuts for payday, or it's a potluck, or it's whatever. My mom and I have really been working on finding some recipes to take that won't totally crash you, but also make you feel like you're having a treat, or make you feel like you're having something. And then just continuing to I don't know, surround yourself with those people that are, like Lacey was saying, the people who are uplifting, the people that are going to be encouraging to you, because sometimes it's just it's toxic. And so if you don't have a rainy day folder already, where you have those notes that those kids have given you, or that postcard that your boss gave you, or the parent email that came through, you know, the 1 out of 50 that was, thanks so much for all you do and you're making a difference. I have a tote of all of those things, and I go back and I put the music on and I read through them, and you know, have my little piece of chocolate or my coffee or whatever, and then just remember why you're doing what you do, and let the rest of them dig their own holes, because it's not worth it.
And
Amen.
it's okay to set boundary. You know, we are so used to making everybody else happy and at our expense. And boy, I'm way too old to have learned that it's okay to say no and let mean no. And it doesn't mean anything that you don't like them or anything else. It just means that today it's no. And that's okay.
Yes. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Those were great tips. Kelly and Laura, you guys should get connected. I will connect you because you guys are in the same town. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. I love this. Anybody else? Those were really great tips, Kelly. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to share? No? All right. Well, unless anybody else has anything to share or any questions, I'm open for all questions. It doesn't have to be related to today's class. I know that someone might have had, I don't think she's here anymore, but someone might have had a supplement question. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming today. It really means a lot to me that you came. As we conclude today's masterclass, I want to leave you with this thought. Transformation is possible for each and every one of us. It's a journey of many steps, and today you've taken one of those steps. I am honored that you guys have shown up and shared this time with me, and I really look forward to seeing where your journey takes you. And remember, this is for me, for you, for us. Together we rise. So let's rise into a future where we can embrace wellness, not just for ourselves, but for each other in the collective. If you found value in today's session and wish to dive deeper, I invite you to join our upcoming program. It's a space where we can explore these concepts further and support each other in our transformative journeys in a group setting. If you want to hear more about it, you can stick around for the next segment, which will be about 5 minutes. And I'll lay it all out for you. If you're not interested, just feel free to leave the Zoom, and I'll just be talking for about the 5-week group coaching program just for the next few minutes. But hang around in the group. I'll put the links in there. You guys are going to get a replay to your inbox. But thank you once again for supporting me in my debut, kind of a soft launch. So I really am so happy about how many of you showed up today. Your presence and engagement has made this session really special for me. And may your path to wellness be fulfilling and transformative. Until we meet again, take care and be well. Thank you for showing up. Bye. Hi, buddy. Gosh, he's getting big. Very cool. Very cool. Cool. Thanks for showing up, guys. So now we're going to do a quick little shop with me. One of the things that I don't want to do is I don't want to make anybody feel pressured to join my programs. I am not here to sell to people, but these sessions for the program are just the shop with me sessions will be at the end of every masterclass in case people want to join. So the 5-week program is going to be every Saturday for the next 5 weeks at the same time. We're going to meet for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, and we're going to go into deeper about this circle of life. And then we're going to talk about different concepts of self-development, changing your life up, and we're going to talk about diet and all the things. If you've been in group coaching programs with me before, you know how we work. But the way that it works is we have a group of people that come in, and I talk for about the same amount of time I talk today, for about half an hour, and then we open up for questions. I used to do this, like I would talk and then people would answer questions thing, but it got too long. We would go for like a long time. And so I really want to be mindful of people's time, and I want to be really intentional about setting the space in a way that helps you guys grow. So you're going to be getting a workbook. You're going to be getting access to replays. I'm in the process of building an online course so that you'll be like I had at Dr. Tara's. For those of you who were with me at Dr. Tara's, you were able to go in and watch the course. I am doing that now. I'm just getting it all together. So this is going to be in there. The 5-week program is going to be in there. But we're going to be talking about the circle of life. That's where we're going to start. And then we're going to set your goals. Then we're going to be going through the habit stacking and how to stack those goals and to meet your needs. And then we're going to be going a little bit into the trauma and the grief. And we're going to be telling our stories. We're going to be writing letters to the people that we've lost. I'm going to be giving some tools that I've used to help with that grief and that trauma. And one of the really cool things about a group program is like what we just experienced with Kelly. Kelly is one of my shining stars. I absolutely love Kelly, and she has really brought forward some really awesome feedback and some really good insights that sometimes I forget to bring, or sometimes, I don't even know about. And so that's the magic of a group program, is we have other people's insights and stuff. Because sometimes as the host, I can't remember everything to bring forward. So it's nice to have other people's insights so we can kind of play off each other. And then you create community, and we have an online space. We're going to have a Facebook group that we can all chat and talk to each other in there and share resources. Like I said, I'm going to have a workbook that you can work through, and then I'm going to have a guidebook. And we're going to be really diving deep into this circle of life and how we can make a change. I'm going to be sharing recipes. I'm going to be sharing herbal compounds. I'm going to be sharing supplement stuff. You guys all have access to my supplement dispensary. So be sure to send me a message if you want to get a 15% discount. The way that I work is a little bit different than when you guys worked with me at Dr. Tara's, if you worked with me at Dr. Tara's. I am more integrative than Dr. Tara was. She's more holistic and vitalistic. But what I do is I meet my clients where they're at in their wellness journey, and I help them to create a team of practitioners. I don't rely on one doctor to suit your needs. While I think it's great to have a primary care physician, there are specialists that can specialize in different parts of your life. For example, if I have a client who has pelvic floor issues, I'm going to send them to a pelvic floor specialist. If I have a client who has back issues, I'm going to send them to a back specialist. These are specialists I have handpicked throughout my time in wellness that fit your needs. For example, there are tons of naturopaths in the Valley. How do you pick a naturopath that fits you? There are primary care naturopathic physicians that take your insurance. While I value not working in insurance, you're already paying for insurance. We're already paying for it. We're paying like $600 a month or more for it. Most of us, we're paying a lot of money. Why should we pay out of pocket for even more wellness? I get it. I think that's great for some people, but for those of us who are on a budget, and for those of us who don't have the money to do that, we need care too. And so there are naturopaths in this valley that work with Regents, Primera, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Molina. Like there are, and I know all of them, and I know what their personalities are like. I know what they bring to the table. I know what their specialties are. So I find one that suits you, and then I recommend you to go to them. And if you still want to go see a cash pay provider for specialized things, that's great. One of the things that Dr. Tara is really great at is the Carroll Food Intolerance Method. But the Carroll Food Intolerance Method it's a great baseline, and it's a great assessment if you aren't getting answers, but it's not a real test. I mean, it's an assessment. It's a naturopathic proprietary technique that is used with frequency and Tesla technology it's not a real lab test. And I've seen how it's done. And so I think it's really great. And it helped me a lot. But I know that some of these programs are all based on that. However, there's validity to getting a food allergy test. There's validity to getting a mold allergy test. There's validity to getting the toxicity tests. And all of these tests are available at naturopaths who take your insurance. And these tests take your insurance. You don't have to pay out of pocket. My whole thing is meeting where you're at in your wallet and in your health journey. So that's why, if you're ever wondering why I left, that's why, because I couldn't work within that scope. And so what I do is I create a team, a wellness team. I'm part of your wellness team. I'm your coach. I'm your guide. I'm your Sherpa. I'm Sherpaing up the health mountain. We are going up this mountain together. I don't know everything. I'm not a doctor, but I am very experienced. I've been doing this since 2000. I've been doing coaching since 2012 and working with naturopaths since 2008. I mentored under Dr. Jacqueline Thomas, who is one of the most brilliant physicians that I know. I disagree with her on a few things. I disagree with all physicians on a few things, but that's, we all have our disagreements. And so that is why I've decided to go on my own, because I'm able to work within my understanding of what wellness is. So if all that sounds good to you, I'm offering a special to everybody who has shown up and everybody who signs up before Monday for $333 for the 5 weeks. I've tried to keep everything as low as I can. And that's a little under $100 for 5 weeks, for the coaching. And then you'll get the guides, and then you will get a one-on-one session with me. If you sign up today, you'll get 2 one-on-ones, one when we start and then one when we finish. And if you sign up after Monday, I'm going to give everybody till Monday. It's going to go up to $497, and that's $100 a week, just under $100 a week for the 5 week sessions. And that's about as low as I could go. My previous programs were $1,000 for 8 weeks, and I just was not okay with that. I don't think we should be the gatekeepers of wellness. In order for the community to make a change and have a shift, we need to be reasonable. And so that is why I've decided to do this, and that is why I have broke free and started my own company, because I am not about gatekeeping wellness, and I am not about one provider. So if that is something that sounds good to you, you can send me a message in Facebook, and I will send you the link to sign up. You can text me. I'm going to drop all this stuff in the group too. I just have a little a sign up link. It's like a payment through Stripe. You'll pay the payment, and then I'm going to send you a coaching contract that you'll sign through Signwell. And then I'm going to put you in the group, and we're going to get started promptly. It's going to be the same style. We're going to be on Zoom. And then we're going to have our Facebook group. And then in the coming weeks, I will have a portal similar to what was given in Tara's portal. I'm just building it right now. And so that's a lot of work. And so all the replays will go to your inbox no matter what. There's going to be a YouTube link that's private to you for the replays that nobody else can access until I get my back end finished. So does anybody have any questions about the coaching program?
Hey, Lacy, Saturdays, we're just hitting prime camping dirt bike season.
Yeah.
But Saturdays, would it be something where I could submit questions and you would
Totally.
answer them, even
Totally.
though I might not always have mine's a service issue, right? Like,
yeah.
we're in the middle of BFE.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Laura. That actually prompted, yes, I will create like an intake form that you can submit your questions. And then you can always text me, you can always text me. And then I'll answer them live for everybody during the end, like I did today. At the end, we'll do questions. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. 110%. Cool. Very
Okay,
cool. Any other questions? Cool. Well, great. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. I'm just like over the moon happy about it. This was a pretty good debut. I wasn't sure if anybody would show up, so I'm really happy that so many people did. You guys, my mom even came. Like that made me want to cry. My mom even showed up, which is so cool because she's never come to any of my stuff. She always thinks I'm kind of like, like I'm like so excited. So that was really good. So thank you so much for showing up, and I will be sending the replay out today. I'm gonna try and get this downloaded, and Kelly, I'll let you know how the AI thing did. I think it's still recording. So I hope so. Cool. Well, thank you so much, and I will see you all in the group. And if you want to sign up, just shoot me a message and I'll shoot you the payment link and we'll get started. All right.
Thank you, Lacy.
Yeah, thanks guys. Bye.
Bye.